Over the past few months, I've invited you guys to join Chris and me in sponsoring Buckham Fair as a way to say thank you to Martin and Philippa for the wonderful entertainment and infotainment they've given us over the years. Supporting their local community is important to them, and this seemed like a great way to give back. If you donated, thanks very much. It's not too late to donate directly to the cause. You'll see the link during the video and in the show notes. You guys commented both on YouTube and elsewhere that you'd like to hear what it was like. What follows is a rambling discussion of the entire weekend. We did a personal sponsorship and volunteered to help, and we accompanied a corporate sponsor to a reception that took place at the end of the setup day. If you see photos of Martin in a sky blue shirt, those are from that reception. This is a podcast episode that includes quite a number of photos and videos, so YouTube is your best platform for that. There are fewer photos than I would have liked, and that's because we were having such a good time that we literally forgot to take photos. Overall impressions, what a great weekend. Not only did we achieve our give back, but we were able to see Martin in his natural environment and get a sense of the community of Dorset. We lived in Monmouth and Ocean County for 40 years, so we're used to having well-known people roaming around. Bruce Springsteen, John Bon Jovi, Queen Latifah, just to name a few of them. We were pleased to see that the culture in Bedminster, like where we live, is to let public people have their private lives. The people of Dorset were kind and welcoming. A special shout out to the people at the Olerod where we stayed. Lovely place with lovely people. We were able to meet a whole bunch of people that we'd only known through Facebook pages or Instagram, and that was an amazing thing to finally put names and faces together. So without further ado, Chris and Janice, come through and welcome to this special edition of Podcast Port Wen. It is fantastic to see you guys again, especially you, Janice, since we haven't seen you since we returned.
Very good to see you.
Nice to meet new friends on a trip, isn't it?
It is. It is. Such a surprise to find such connection, just in a short period of time.
Tell me, why do people travel from the USA to go to Buckham Fair?
That's a really good question. I think, the draw of the beauty of the place, for one thing. I mean, if you've seen any pictures, know how beautiful it is. But also, I think, of course, Martin's connection. People want to meet him and tell him how much he's meant to them in whatever ways they fashion that. And I think just being grateful to he and Philippa for giving of themselves the way they do to their community. I think it's so refreshing to see them understand that they're a part of that community and they give back because they have the opportunity to do that, whereas a lot of people don't. And the generosity and the time and work put into it, I think people see, I'd like to be a part of that. And so, I communicated with several people before I went who had gone to prior ones, who weren't going to come this year for one reason or another. They were all from the U.S. They talked about the spirit of the place, just how much they got out of it for the camaraderie and the community and feeling like they're doing a good thing, for the people of that community. So I think there are a lot of different reasons for the draw, but obviously thousands of people have found that to be the case from the U.S. I talked to so many people who had been to the first 8 or however many there were. Just really, incredible sponsorship and volunteering, and would do it again in a minute if I could. That's
nice. How about you, Chris?
Well, I echo what Janice is saying. I mean, the beautiful countryside, especially at where we were at Buckham Fair. Yeah, the rolling hills, looking out over the valley. You can see the patchwork of different fields and roads running and villages. It was great. Another reason for going to England, the food. I mean, Cornish pasties. I mean, where could you get a Cornish pasty? And so that was great. Yeah, so the food and the scenery. You have Martin and Philippa who put together, or Doc Martin and the other different theatrical endeavors they have. And a chance to say thanks. And in fact, I did that. I said to Martin as we were walking along, I said that Chesla and I really enjoyed Doc Martin, and that he and his wife gave us a lot of joy. And he seemed genuinely touched to say, thank you very much for telling me that. And that was really very gentlemanly of him. He seems like a really right guy.
Yeah.
So,
It's funny that you said that, Chris. I was thrilled when I was there when you told Martin very enthusiastically, you've given us a hell of a lot of entertainment or a hell of a lot of enjoyment or something like that. Mm-hmm. And I was thrilled because I was like, man, I thought this was just my thing. But yeah, to echo what you guys had said, to me it was a thank you.
Yeah.
Because we have gotten so much enjoyment out of Doc Martin and Manhunt and Arthur and George. And when we were over there, we got the opportunity to watch Out There, which I had been dying to see.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, that was cool. And so we did get to talk to Martin, which was delightful. Such a nice guy. Got to talk to Neil Morrissey, also such a charming guy. I did not get to talk to Philippa. I really wanted to, but I knew that she was a bit more reserved and not the mayor of the area like Martin was. So I held back, but I did want to just let her know how much she is admired. Because 201, everybody I've talked to who's either traveled to Port Isaac or just, enjoyed the show that much, they've all said, yeah, I really wanted to tell Philippa how impressed we are with the quality of the production and the choices that they've made and how beautiful everything looks and how tight all the scripts are and all these things that get done that aren't necessarily appreciated. And then Sliding Doors is one of our favorite movies, and she was the producer of that too. So we're there basically to say thanks, and it seemed like supporting something important to other people who you want to say thank you. This is important to you guys, and it's our way to say thanks. So that was very cool.
I missed talking to Philippa, and I do regret that. I kept trying to get to her, but she seemed busy, and I didn't want to interrupt. But yeah, I was hoping to tell her how much I admired her work. It's almost surreal to me when I think back on it that I was interacting with these people that I admired so much and only have known about for a short span of time, because I didn't know about Doc Martin or Martin Clunes at all, really, until like 2020. And
similar to us.
Same for you?
2023 for us, right? Which is not to say not aware, because just like many other actors who I have started consuming everything they've ever been in, they come to your notice and you realize you've seen them in a bunch of other things and really enjoyed their character, but you didn't realize what their name was at the time.
Right. So. And I didn't, our PBS station didn't carry Doc Martin here in Bloomington. And I just, I'm a big fan of Father Brown and Call the Midwife and all of those British shows that we like so much. So I guess I didn't really know about it until one day we just happened to go by it as we were flipping channels. And it was interesting, but I got in the middle, so I didn't really, know what was going on. So then we started from the beginning and just watched it through, and I just was immediately hooked. And then I had my knee surgery on both knees in 2023, 4 months apart, and it was a way to get my mind off myself, and it really got me through those two surgeries. And in 2024, I wrote to Martin through Buffalo Pictures, through their website. I'd never written a fan letter in my life, but I wrote to him, and I just said, I need to thank you for getting me through two very serious surgeries. And I felt like Doc Martin did that for me, and I feel like what you do is incredible. And try not to sound too much like a fandom, but I needed to say to him, thank you. And he wrote back the nicest letter to me. He didn't have to do that. I didn't expect to get anything back. He's busy. But he wrote the sweetest letter and said, you're not the first person, certainly, that's told me that they got through their medical emergency or whatever it was by looking at Doc Martin. Mm-hmm. Yep. So that was really nice. I was really touched by him writing back.
Absolutely. I told him that Cornwall basically got me back on a plane. When we saw the beauty of Cornwall and Port Isaac and enjoyed the show so much, and you could basically go there and fundamentally be in the set. This was well after filming was finished.
Right.
That I had a hard time getting on a plane after 9/11, especially long trips.
Yes.
Because it happens, very close to where we live. And it was like, okay, I'm going to do something that flying might kill me, but it probably won't maim me. So I'll start doing things that will kill me outright. And I got back on a plane. So that was good. Janice, what was your trip like?
It was eventful. It was hard to get there, because of the storms on the East Coast. So I ended up taking almost 27 hours to get there from the time I left home. But once I got there and we got settled, it felt good. Losing the car was another whole incident that was not great, but I don't think I've ever had a trip that felt so magical. Just meeting so many people that were so wonderful, and the Dorset people in general just seemed so kind and so understanding of circumstances. I mean, helping us when we had the accident, and just giving us rides and doing things for us, asking us what we need. I felt like they live in a time that maybe it was 1950 in Indiana. This just very laid back, slower lifestyle, that I really value. So that was really wonderful to know that that's what it's like there. And the trip back was uneventful, which was great. I was really tired by then, but I'm already planning the next trip. Already thinking of what I want to do next time.
One thing that we noticed was at the fair itself, how I must have been in across Dorset, including at the fair, 1 million public toilets, and they're all clean. It was wonderful. I know this is like a stupid detail, right?
No,
but the amount of dogs that were there and how well behaved they were, how lovely that was.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, everybody was so nice. Couldn't have been nicer. It was like you knew these folks right off the bat, and hey, you have a real shared goal and common interest too, which was nice.
Right.
Did you have anything to add to what was the trip like there, Chris? Or
I guess a couple things. We were able to get some sleep on the plane over. And then the first thing we do when we get there is we get a rental car, and it helps to have somebody with you saying, stay left, stay left, stay left. And so the first thing we did out of the airport rental car is immediately stay left and drive back into the rental car lot again, because that was the lane we were in. So that caused a little bit of
you needed a little
kerfuffle.
card to get out of the lot.
Yeah.
And I had to go get a new card from the guy who rented us the car. And his comment was just, good start.
Driving on the left side of the road is exciting. Making right-hand turns is even more exciting. And it was great having a car because we could give rides to people who needed them, like you and Marissa and Simo. It was a pleasure to do that. So.
Well, it was a
great.
lifesaver for us because we were out in the middle of nowhere. So it was an incredibly long walk.
Looking from where the fair was and where you could see Beminster, I think it would be possible to actually walk up to Buckham Fair from there, but not along the roads, along walking paths.
Right. There was a sign, there at the end of at the entrance to Buckham, they had the Beminster arrow, and it said 3/4 of a mile. Yeah. So if the trail was maintained, that would be a cinch. I mean, that wouldn't be hard at all if it was good walking. Sometimes those paths are those little tiny paths with the roads and the hedges so close, they look all the same.
Exciting. Very exciting to drive down them.
60 miles an hour, two-way, one-lane roads, and as we know from Auntie Joan, there's bags of room. But not when you're from New Jersey or Indiana and you're used to everything being wide.
No.
Unlike our Cornwall trip, we did not get a flat tire.
Yes.
The roads were much better maintained in Dorset.
Yeah, I agree. So folks who were watching this, of course, they're here for what was the fair like. Now, little background. We arrived. The first thing that we did was we met up with Janice and Marissa, who I had known Marissa from my fan fiction. She writes the most lovely comments. She's a very enthusiastic person, and we had said, maybe we can meet you for dinner. So we went to Wynyards Gap, who is a sponsor of the fair. So we thought, let's try to go somewhere that sponsored the fair. So we went there. We met you guys. That was delightful. And then the next day we helped with setup, and the drought conditions were so bad that the ground was like a rock, and we had a lot of driving in of tent stakes to do. Right, so we were out there.
I will say one of the things that really helped us in our construction of these tents was you actually reading the instructions, Chesla. sort of going online and saying, "Oh, this should look like this." And that was actually very helpful.
Yes,
So,
yes.
For
Because
the guy wires?
we had no
Yes.
idea what it was going to look like because we've never seen these before. And if you hadn't read the instructions, we could still be there. I mean, it was really, yeah, it was like, okay, what is this structure?
And we had to put things. That's what I was going to say. Yes, there's a lot of wind overnight before the fair, and apparently the dome tent that we helped put up and the dog fencing, which Marissa, it's funny, Marissa and I were about the same height and about the same weight. So between the two of us, we could step simultaneously on the bottom of the fence post, and it would go in smoothly as long as there wasn't a rock. So we were getting those things to go in. And Chris, you were kind of like the chief plastic fencing guy, and
Yeah.
I gotta give thumbs up to the Buckham Fair folks at their sustainability, because that fence was not in the best condition, but I will bet you the reason it gets reused is because there's such a tendency to just use that stuff once and toss it.
Yeah.
And you don't need to do that. It's just plastic that isn't needed to be waste. You can reuse it. And so we did a lot of magical surgical repair with zip ties.
Zip ties. Lots and lots of zip ties.
Lots and lots.
So Janice, you and Marissa, did you volunteer the day of the fair?
Yes. We did Saturday, Sunday, Monday, all 3 days. Saturday, we helped with the tents, and I started with the fencing, but then they needed help with those. They weren't tents, but they had like plastic awning tops and then poles. I did several of those with people because they're having a terrible time. And I helped a little bit with the agility course setup, which was fun. And I think I went up and did something in the horse area at one point. But it was amazing to me that when we walked onto the land and nothing was set up except the big fence in the main ring, that we were able to get that thing ready for the next day, because I thought when I saw that, oh my God, there's nothing done. And it was amazing how the crew of however many there were of us, were able to get that all set up by whatever, 5 or 6 o'clock. I was amazed.
Yeah.
It's totally
Great
amazing.
group of volunteers. Just I've never seen an event that from the outside looking in runs so amazingly smoothly, that seems so complex, that was run by volunteers.
Yeah, and a committee of 7. It's amazing to me what they get done. I mean, they have a lot of help, but still, the generosity of businesses in the community, like Martin was saying at the reception, it's amazing how many people gave of themselves to make this happen. Yeah. And he said, I'm always amazed at how many people step up and say, we can provide this. And there's been more and more of that, I guess, this year, according to him. But yeah, to make that field into a fair in one day is just amazing. Amazing.
Folks, if you're trying to picture what this is, to me it was like if a county fair and a dog show and a horse show and a street fair had a baby. And maybe throw a church carnival in there with like an affair or something. Because there was food, there were rides, charity booths, tradespeople booths. Did I say food? Lots of food. Mm-hmm. And then so many activities for the dogs to do. And
9
this
rings.
it was incredible. And, in each ring there was something different, sometimes more than one thing going on. And then the whole heavy horse area, where you not only had a ring where you would see these majestic creatures being led around or drawing drays or doing their agriculture work, but also they had their area where they would have their downtime that you could go visit them. It was just a unique experience. I don't think we have anything like that really as a solo event here in the U.S.
No, I don't think so.
County fairs, maybe.
But like all those horse events and stuff?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I could see parts of it being, in different ways in county fairs, but the whole thing together, I think you're right. It's just really unique in this country. I don't think you would see too much like that.
Now, perhaps somebody who's watching this from Texas or some place where, Wyoming or Arizona, where you've got more horses than we have here in New Jersey.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe they do something similar, but the focus on the heavy horses, I think, was pretty unique.
It was. And so educational, to have the guy in the ring, talking about all of the different breeds and how they differ and what they were used for in the old days. And I mean, he was a wealth of information. I enjoyed him so much.
Never get it out again, and it causes a lot of problems. So that's why they're clean. There is no such thing as a native heavy horse. Not like you have the Dartmoor ponies, Exmoors, Dales ponies. These were have been bred up, and it was the King, what was it, Henry VIII with the 9 wives?
Yeah, same here. I wish I had recorded his entire thing. Chris, do you remember that?
Absolutely, sure. I mean, talking about the history of, and how many horses there are now, and things that aren't sustainable because they don't have enough horses, and horses that they immigrate or to sort of widen the stock, and how many births they had in a particular breed. Yeah, it's very educational and sobering to realize what is needed to sort of sustain the types of horses and that type of culture. So,
and the costs. I just remember something like, wasn't it something like 400 pounds every 6 weeks or something to shoe the horses if they were working horses?
Yeah.
For working horses, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
Wow.
Just amazing. Chris, did you want to say anything about the various dog shows?
they were wonderful. That's probably the high point of the thing for me. Although some of the heavy horses go around, or the guy they had with the horse show had like 20 horses that he was just controlling by his movements and his voice. That was incredible.
Yeah, that
But
was
the dogs, I'd have to say I really enjoyed that because they just bring out dogs, different tricks, dogs and owners, the scruffiest, the smarmiest or whatever, fluffiest
Hang on.
and scruffiest.
I've got the I brought the souvenir program here so we could, what did we have here? We had the Fluffiest Scruffiest, right? Possum
The dog who
Party
looks
Trick.
most like Neil Morrissey.
Yep.
So
The Odd Couple, the 2 dogs opposite one another. The Best 6 Legs, which, frankly, that was my favorite part of the whole dog show because Neil and Martin made the absolute best selection, if you ask. There was a woman who had a very cute dog who she decorated in pink, and she put knee highs on herself that had pictures of the dog on it.
Yes.
Yeah, and I thought, there's your winner. She's going to be it. And then out comes this little girl with this cute little fluffy terrier, and you just were like, oh, please, let it be her. And the woman in the knee socks came in second, and the little girl came in first. And Simo, if you know Simo from Martin Clunes Art Project, she sent me some photos, and there's a photo of this little girl with her dog with Martin and Neil, and it's just precious.
Yeah.
I mean, that's absolutely fantastic. Yeah, well done. Well done, Daphne. And all the dogs need to go to therapy, really, don't they? And in first position, we have number 543. 543, where have you gone? Oh, there! You are an angel, and so is your little doggy. Well done.
I was hoping she would win.
You won. Careful when you pin that on. Cal. It's Callie. Well done. Well done, Callie.
We love to.
Well,
And then there was the judge's choice, and it made me laugh because the dog that got picked was the one Martin's like, I like that one because of its ears, because it had very prominent, outstanding ears. So that was fun.
one thing besides just the shows was that the number of dogs who were just being led around or being accompanying with some of the people there. So lots and lots of dogs. And they were all well behaved.
They were.
So it was really nice to see so many dogs, so many friends,
Yes.
four-legged
yeah.
friends.
It was so nice to see how they accommodated them. There were all those watering stations, cooling stations. They made it really safe because it was really hot. They made it really safe to bring your dog because they have places that they could get refreshed or whatever. And that takes some foresight. They really thought those things through over the years that they've had it. And made it so much easier for people to bring their animals.
And they're dog people. I mean, we're dog people. They're dog people. So
Right.
we look for those things. But I'll tell you, if we're back at the point in our lives where we're hoping to get another puppy, because we had 20 years with a dog, like 2 different dogs, and then we've had a gap of about 3 years now. And I want a dog trainer from England. I really do, because those dogs were fantastic. And you figure culturally, dogs are allowed in many more places in England than they are here. And it could be, you don't know which came first, right? If a dog is very well behaved and you don't have a problem with it, then you allow it in places. Or if they're allowed in places, then you'd better have a well-behaved dog, right?
Right.
But yeah, they were spectacular.
I don't think I went to any restaurant or anything, any store that didn't have dogs there when I was there. It was great. I mean, everywhere I went. And they were so well behaved, like you say. I mean, you hardly knew they were there. Yeah. And I would love that. That would just be nirvana for me to have that in the place that I lived.
That's right.
Yeah.
And that's our goal with our next dog, is to have a dog that's as well behaved as that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, that we can take anywhere.
Hopefully Chris shares it.
Of course.
Yep. Now, let's see.
I will say one thing about just talking about dogs is it was amazing, cute, wonderful to see Martin Clunes talking, with regular people about regular things. And then one of the dogs that was in Doc Martin came by, and he was just so pleased to see the dog. Well, 2 dogs. And the dog was sort of jumping up on him, glad to see him, and he was like jumping up and down, and so it was just great. I mean, it was a very natural reaction from a dog lover seeing a beloved dog.
Yeah, it was great when Sonia walked. The trainer Sonia brought them into the tent. They didn't see Martin right away, and I went up to her because I wanted to thank her for all of her work, because I had read a bunch about her training the dogs for Doc Martin, and we were talking, and then they both spotted Martin, and she said, "Oh, here we go." She said, "I told them we were going to see Martin, and they've been crazy ever since."
You see Doc Martin and Martin Ellingham, and he hates these dogs, and he's yelling at them all the time, and he's this stiff guy and very rigid. And then you meet Martin Clunes, the actor, who loves dogs. And they love him, and he is basically down on his knees, and the dogs are jumping all over him. And this was a Chicken, who was in season 10. His real name is Taffy. And then Paddy, who I guess was not only on Doc Martin, but is in Midsummer Murders, I believe.
I heard that, yeah.
Yeah. And they were both very adorable dogs. And I did meet Murray of John and Murray fame, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he had his own business he wanted to attend to. He was zipping around everybody, not spending a ton of time with anybody, but he was a good boy.
When Marisa and I drove up to Buckham ground on whatever that was, Thursday, I guess, just to look at the place and see if we could see what it was like, Martin was there with John and Murray, and a wonderful, unexpected surprise. We got to meet him beforehand.
Lovely.
John came over and immediately ran up to me, threw himself down on the ground and turned upside down and just stayed there like forever. And I was petting and he didn't move, and I stopped petting. He still didn't move. He was still upside down. And I looked over at Martin and I said, "This is pitiful."
He's so needy.
He said, "Yes, he's pathetic, and any words of encouragement that you can give to him to boost his ego would be greatly appreciated."
Yes. He's got a great sense of humor.
It was great.
I accidentally kind of goosed him when I was... Chris was taking a picture of us together, and I'm used to, putting my arm around Chris. And Martin's he's got like 5... No, you're not fat. But Martin's got like maybe 4 or 5 inches in height on Chris, and he's always looked very imposing, and it's sort of... I put my arm there, and he had lost weight for a roll, and I kind of like didn't find him, and I ended up sliding my hand around his back and kind of goosed him. I was like... He was kidding me, like, oh, there's going to be rumors about us tomorrow, romantic attachments on social media or something like that. So the picture I've got of us is he's talking and I'm laughing. So it was very funny. He couldn't have been nicer. And Neil was the same way. He was just so easy to talk to, and we're talking.
And he stomped on my feet, and then he said, "You have big feet."
He told Chris had on like a Hawaiian shirt, and so did Neil, and or like a patterned shirt.
Yeah.
And he said, "Oh, here's the guy with the second wildest shirt here." So, very nice.
I was kind of surprised that Martin was so thin, because I don't think of him as that thin. And when I first saw him that first day that we were there looking around, I thought, wow, I think of him as being tall, but also kind of, and he really had lost a lot of weight. And I was that way too. When I put my arm around him, I thought, he's little.
I mean, he's substantial, but he just wasn't where I expected him.
Yeah.
Sorry. I'm trying to think what else. Just go through some stuff that was at the fair. You could buy tickets online, which was fantastic. We had done a partner pair sponsorship or whatever, a couple sponsorship. So we were able to get tickets in advance. I didn't want to make any travel arrangements until I knew we had tickets. So that was very helpful to be able to buy online tickets. Then you knew that you were going and could get in. We stayed at the Olerod, which was lovely, in Bedminster. I would highly recommend it. Such nice people. I mean, they were great. Just to give people an idea of the types of stuff that went on, there were, 9 dog rings or something?
Yep.
Like that. So they had agility, they had hoopers, they had a sniff-along ring. So trying to scent things out. They had what they called Temptation Alley. So they were trying to tempt the dogs to go off a path. The Fun Run ring, a morning pedigree. Ring 7 was the one I think we put together, right? That was the Dorchester Ring Craft Training Club. They had classes. They had dog open class, obedience rally. The best rescued rehomed ring, celebrity novice ring. That was the fun one that Martin and Neil were doing all the judging on. And then Dog of the Day was in the main arena, and that was all the... pardon the language, because this is a technical term.
Yes.
I think it was Rosemary. Rosemary was this wonderful MC of a lot of the dog stuff. And she was just out there, and she's just saying, dogs here, bitches there. Dogs here, bitches there. And you're from the U.S., and you're kind of, if you're not into dog culture, you're like, whoa. But, that's the technical term.
That's the technical term. Yeah.
Yep, so.
Yep.
There were some little kids in front of me when that was happening on the bales of straw, and they looked up at their mom really worried. When she kept saying that word, they kept doing this, like, is that okay?
Yes. When it's used for a technical reason, that's completely
Don't use
appropriate.
this word at home.
That's right. For anything other than a female dog. So there was the golden retriever demonstration.
Oh, that was so cool.
Yeah. In the morning, sort of formation walking and running. That was impressive to watch.
It was very impressive. I talked to one of the women with that group who had a novice that wasn't quite ready for the ring, but he was real young, and she was training him to be like one of them. She sat down by me for a while on a straw bale, and I was saying how beautiful the dog was and talking about it, and she said it's really good for him to be here and see what the other dogs are doing and see how this all works, because when we go around to different places, it's basically the same routine. And he gets used to the crowds and all that. So that was really fun to get to talk to a person behind the scenes of the group, and then to see them in the ring. I mean, it was a beauty to watch. They're such beautiful dogs anyway, but that kind of, we're all in this together, and they all look like they were having fun. They didn't look like, oh, here we go again.
Right. Yeah.
They looked really happy. So
they were very attentive to their human, and their humans, of course, was kind of like a drill team. So the humans are walking in sequence, and the dogs are coming with them, and then the humans would put the dogs in like position and formation, and then step away and continue their part of the performance. And the dogs would have their part of the, it was sort of a nearby and a distant level of communication between the dogs. It was impressive.
It's the same way with Ben Atkinson, and the horses. Oh my God, I mean, I've checked out his website since I got home because I'm just so amazed with what he does. And it's just amazing to me what kind of communication and trust he has with those animals. I mean, it's so obvious that they're not trained with fear, that they're trained on trust. And that is such a big deal to me. It's just, it's a beauty to watch. It's a beauty to watch. That was one of my favorite parts of the whole day.
Does he have videos on his site?
He does.
Great. I'm going to put that in the show notes if anybody wants to see that.
I will.
Did you see the Crufts Freestyle Champion? Because I missed that.
No, I didn't.
I saw if folks want to see that, Faye Neal Photography, FAYENEAL. She did all of the official photography for Buckham Fair. She has some very nice pictures of the freestyle champion. How about the Lamb National? Did you watch the Lamb National?
Yes.
That was funny. I mean, it was just a bunch of lambs, and they laid out a course, and they had a dog chasing the lambs who were running through the course pretty well, and then they had lots of children chasing them, and then I think they had adults chasing the children. They had just a lot of animals chasing other animals, and people chasing them and chasing their own children.
That was pretty funny, and I cracked up that it was sponsored by the local butcher, Frampton. So those sheep have a different ending, hopefully, than many of them. Yeah. There was the heavy horse display 6-horse team. Now that's one that we saw Martin, I think, the day before when they were practicing. Right. And he looked so happy to be riding on that cart.
He looked like a little kid. Yeah.
Amazing. 6 in these horses, and just drawing this cart, and then the drays, like you'd have 2 huge horses that were drawing this enormous wagon, right? And then the agricultural stuff. So it was not just an impressive display, but it's like Janice, you said, it was educational.
Yeah, I mean, they gave so many nice facts about it. It wasn't just like, oh, this is for show. This is something that used to happen on a daily basis.
Right.
And it was so educational to find out, especially about the different breeds, because I've never had any experience with heavy horses, even though I've always, been around other horses. And I didn't realize the differences in like the Shires and the Clydesdales and the Belgians. I never read about that or didn't know about that. So that was really interesting to me. And just, the majesty of them. I mean, they're so elegant, and they seem so calm compared to most other horses. And I was talking to Martin about that. He says that they're actually using them now in England and some parts of Europe as dressage horses, which really surprised me because I don't think we have that here. I've never heard of heavy horses doing dressage here, but that would be amazing to watch.
Yeah.
They're so big.
I found myself really enjoying the dressage at the Olympics, and I think it's just because to me, like I like horses, and I would have liked to have taken lessons as a child, and then I tried as an adult, and I think I told you, Janice, I had a reaction to putting a bit in its mouth, so it's kind of like I really don't want to do that. But just to see that partnership between the person and the horse, like they're obviously working together, the same like Ben Atkinson's, they're working together on that. That's not just a guy, right? That's just all of them wanting to achieve a goal.
Right.
And to see heavy horses during dressage would be amazing. Chris, I remember when you saw Patrick, you were describing Patrick to Martin. Patrick is one of Martin's Clydesdales.
Just, it looked unreal. I mean, too perfect. Like a drawing that an artist would make of a horse, an idealized drawing, and yet it's a real horse. So, it just seemed sort of something out of a fantasy or out of a dream, something like that.
Yeah, I was amazed at how he felt. His fur was very different than horses that I'm used to.
And describe it.
I don't know. It was like wool, sort of, rather than horsehair. And it was, some of them are short and some are long, so it's a multi-layered thing like some dogs. But as you pet him, I don't know, there was this sensation of, this is not a horse. Because I'm not used to a horse feeling like that. Like with my Arabian, he was very sleek and when he was brushed and combed and not dirty, but it was very smooth. And with Patrick, it was like, I don't know, there was this wonderful feeling of brushing through wool. And I did some of the other horses, and even though they were the same breed, they didn't feel like that. So I don't know if that's something special with the roan of his color or what, but it was very different to me than a horse. And I remember Martin saying, when we were talking about the dressage thing, he said, the Clydesdales and the Shires were meant to work, so they're used to standing still, and they'll stand still forever. That they just stand and just, they're perfectly fine just being there. And I said, I had an Arabian, Martin said, and did he stand still? I said, no, absolutely never could he stand still. They're just so spirited. And even the other breeds that I took care of at the horse barn, nobody was good at standing still.
Yeah.
I guess that's just a characteristic of the breed, because that's what they were bred to do, is to stand until you get the harness all on and, okay, now we're ready to go.
Right.
That sort of thing. That would just be amazing. It would just be wonderful to have one of those.
At the horse rescue that I volunteer at, they do not stand still.
And with Patrick, it was just, it looked so easy. It just, the whole time they were getting him ready for the cart, to pull the cart, I was watching them, and he was just perfectly still the entire time. And I just thought, what would that be like?
That must have been a really neat experience. We had an interesting experience at lunch. We've been talking to Melinda. Yeah, who we met. I mean, one of the many people that we met for the first time, and you instantly felt comfortable with, right? All these, I think Doc Martin people are good people, so.
They are good people.
Yes, right off the bat, you're with a good group. But yeah, my computer just crashed, and it was a little toasty, so I think it might have overheated.
It was all this hot content.
Yeah, that's what it is.
But anyway, you were talking about Melinda.
I said that in talking about Melinda, she said that she went to medical school at the University of Buffalo, and one of her instructors there was my father. So it was very nice to hear.
Yeah, what a small world.
Yeah.
You go to England to find somebody who had your dad as a teacher.
What are the chances in 12,000 people that you would meet someone like that?
Yeah.
I mean, just by accident? I mean, that's just mind-boggling to me.
Yeah. In another country.
In another country, yeah.
Yeah. Now, one thing that we should mention is that the fair itself raised 138,000 pounds.
Yeah.
Which is,
day.
And you got to add like 33% or something like that to get it in U.S. dollars, but I think it's somewhere upwards of 170 to 180,000 dollars for the Dorset County Hospital Emergency and Critical Care Unit. So that facility had been serving, I think, 2.5 times the client load than it was designed to. And so they've got a new building, and this money will help them sort of outfit the building and give the staff what it needs. So that's very cool. But I also wanted to show some of the swag I came home with. So this is from Simo, who does amazing things as Martin Clunes' art project.
She does.
Oh, she's just remarkable. The things that she's done with collages and photos. Just, you have to look her up. She's great.
Her photographs are wonderful.
Yeah, I'll be sharing her photos in here. Marissa can do drawing. She's an architect, retired architect, but she's got amazing eye for detail and ability to sketch. So she will create sketches from your photographs. And so this is from her. Very nice. And then Annika, who had been a guest on the podcast a couple of times in different contexts, gave me this great calendar for next year. She says, to prove that I have a friend in the Netherlands.
Nice.
So that was nice. And then there was this thing called the Tombola, which when I had seen that it was advertised on the Buckham Fair site, it's spelled Tombola, but only the first 4 letters came out. So I'm looking at the Facebook page, it's like, we will have a tomb. Like, wow. And so I looked it up and I asked what it was, and I still came away with the wrong impression, because I had thought it was like what we would have, like a raffle 50-50 kind of thing, where you fill out the back of your ticket and then they draw, right? So I went up and I told the I'll throw 10 pounds at it, right? Because it's, that's one of these things that's fundamentally all profit for whatever you're raising money for. And it was 3 tries for £1. So I, in essence, got what I thought were going to be 30 tickets entered in some sort of a drawing. Well, the way it works is they've got this little cranky thing with tons of tiny little pieces of paper on which there is a number. And if the number ends in a 0 or a 5, you win the matching prize. So now I'm going through 30 of these little sheets, and it ends up I won 3 prizes. I got a little sort of wall decoration. I got a set of shortbread cookies.
Which are very good,
Which are very
actually.
good Scottish
Should
shortbread
I get
cookies.
some? We can
no,
enjoy
it's all good. And then my number came up, and they're looking around like, which one is this? And they couldn't find it. And somebody says, it's the box from Martin. Like, the box from Martin. So I ended up coming home with a cowboy hat from Martin Clunes. And,
it looks good.
Which actually, I did not even realize that it had a little adjustment in it, because when I first put it on, it was like, I looked like I was 2 years old, and it was like across my whole face. And then a whole bunch of swag to decorate it with. So that was
so cool.
Very fun, very unexpected. So that was cool. But anything else about the fair?
I enjoyed the rides.
Yeah, Chris went on
one ride.
He went on the chair ride.
You were very brave.
Maybe you can show some of those pictures.
Yeah, well, I did not join him because I thought that the population on the ground would not appreciate seeing my lunch rain down upon them.
Me neither.
So,
No.
Yeah. But,
Not my thing.
No, not my. I can't do circles. Just not good.
yeah. No, the people were great. I mean, meeting you, Janice, Marissa, Simu, Melinda, Lisa, Sharon, right?
Tina.
Right. Tina, yep. All those people. Gabby.
Yeah, it was
nice.
great to see Gabby and Annika. That was very cool.
Yeah, so really good people, and that was a lot of fun.
Yep.
So
Yeah,
that was good. It was great.
It feels like, friendships that will last,
Yes.
which is really nice. It's not just, we met at the fair in 2026.
Right.
I feel like we'll be friends forever. It's really
So
nice.
cool. Yeah.
It's really
And
nice.
like the 3 of us, Simo, who's in Italy, and Marisa, who's in Catalonia in Barcelona, right? Mm-hmm. Are on a WhatsApp group, and we've just been chit-chatting this whole time. Like, what do you think of this? Here's some pictures.
Great.
Here's a comment on this. I did this today. So it's just wild. So very fun. So this was great. Folks, if you enjoyed this, please like the video, subscribe to the feed. I'm going to be having the Best Medicine Unspoiled crew for season 2 together sometime next week. We've got season 6 of Paddy the Newbie coming up soon. She's almost done viewing those. I hope that you're enjoying this content. Again, if you missed out on supporting Buckham Fair and you want to say thanks for all the great stuff that we get from Buffalo Pictures and Martin and Philippa and all that, I'll put the link for the Dorset County Hospital Emergency and Critical Care Fund in the show notes so that you could do that if you want to do it. So thanks everybody. Janice, thanks so much for your time, and we'll be in touch.
Thanks for asking.
Yeah. Take care. Yes.
I know. I told you I didn't see Martin. I know what to say.
She's so excited.
I know.
Paddy is looking forward.
Oh,
James, calm down now. Calm down. Enough. I know you're excited. I know. I told him all along we're going to see Martin. He was looking around for you.
Thanks for joining Podcast Port Wen. Podcast Port Wen is an independent fan production, not affiliated with, endorsed by, or sponsored by Buffalo Pictures, ITV, Fox, or the creators of Doc Martin or Best Medicine.